Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Los Angeles Rams Insider Podcast. I'm your host and beat writer, Brock Beer. You can check out all of our work at www.si.com/NFL /Rams /on SI, where we drop double digit pieces of content every single day. So today's podcast is going to be talking about, of course, the recent extensions for Sean McVay and Les Snead, the Rams head coach and general manager, who are tied at the hip, are again tied contractually. We don't know how long it is. We do know it's a multi-year extension. They had deals set to expire at the end of the next season. That's no longer the case. And according to the Athletics' Jordan Rodriguez, it's believed that essentially they'll be Rams as long as they want, as long as the product is successful. Nothing really surprising when it comes to the extensions. Um, but what do they mean is going to be the big question. And that, of course, is the Rams continuing to make moves to set themselves up for a world in which Matthew Stafford is no longer a member of the organization. The Rams have flirted with this possibility for the past 2 years, and it almost became a possibility realistically last season. But of course, a deal was struck in the 11th hour, and Stafford was able to return. He went on to have an MVP campaign this past season, and from the Rams' perspective, they also kind of feel the same way with Stafford. They're ready to have him back. The contract is already in place. It all just depends on what Stafford wants to do. Stafford has yet to comment on his future, and we don't expect him to commit for some time. But according to Sean McVay, he thinks that this is going to be a situation, if you want to even call it that, that's going to get resolved sooner rather than later. Everyone seems to be on the same page. Everyone seems to be in alignment. It's now just about enjoying the fruits of their labor. But for McVay and for Snead, and with this extension, you do have to wonder now that there isn't this sort of pressure to win it instantly because there's this all-in mentality for Stafford's final years. You wonder how that's going to affect their offseason, especially in how they utilize these two first-round picks that they have, one being their own, the other being from the Atlanta Falcons. In previous years, you would automatically say the Rams are going to trade these picks. And the reason why is because in the 9 years that Sean McVay has been head coach, now entering year 10 of this upcoming season, they have spent a total of one first round selection in the draft ever. The reason is, of course, because during McVay's early years, a bunch of those picks were used to acquire Jared Goff the year before. And then once McVay came to the Rams, first round picks were used to acquire players like Jalen Ramsey, Matthew Stafford, and of course last year they traded out to acquire that first round pick and also other picks that would result in Terrence Ferguson and Konate Muffield. The only time they used their first round selection was, of course, for then NFL Defensive Rookie of the Year, Jared Verse, a move that paid off tremendously. You look at this draft, you see that there's two clear and obvious needs on this round's roster that are perfect for this round of the draft. There's wide receiver and cornerback. Lots of options out there. I do believe the Rams are going to bring in another corner, a veteran player, whether that's bringing back Kobe Durant or going on and grabbing somebody else to then create that three-man rotation with a rookie and of course Emmanuel Forbes. I do think the Rams want to run more 11 personnel. That's why I think that they're going to go get a wide receiver. And to me, at this point, depending on how the draft shapes out, I think that's either going to be USC's Makai Lemon or Arizona State's Jordan Tyson. However, this process, there's a lot that can go into it. But what you won't find in this process is the Rams making moves that are going to reek of desperation or a desire to find an answer for a world without Stafford right now, whether that be a quarterback in the first round like Ty Simpson, or perhaps a project like Trinidad Chambliss, Diego Pavia, or somebody else along those lines a little bit down the trough. The critical part about this extension is this. Now that the Rams have solidified the general manager and head coach, that only means their trees are going to expand, which means that more teams are going to pluck from them. Look at the current NFC West. The Arizona Cardinals head coach was the Rams offensive coordinator last year, Mike LaFleur. The 49ers just hired Raheem Morris, former Rams defensive coordinator, to be their defensive coordinator. And then you look at it across the league, guys like Zach Taylor and, Matt LaFleur and Kevin O'Connell and so on. Brandon Staley, who's the DC in New Orleans. And I think he might be in the mix for a head coaching job next season. Chris Shula, who's already in the house. The more that McVay stays with the Rams, the more that mentality is going to impact the league. And I think that we're going to see culture which is that McVay Shanahan culture, and counterculture, which is everybody else, guys like Ben Johnson, guys like Mike McDonald, so on and so forth. It's going to be an interesting mix, especially as McVay and Shanahan and those coaches become the elder statesmen of the NFL. How is that going to shape this league for the next 10 or 20 years? We're not sure, but what we do know is that if McVay is going to shape this league for the next 10 or 20 years, we know exactly where he's going to do it from. This has been Brock Vieira for the Los Angeles Rams Insider Podcast. We'll catch you on next time. Take care.